Well, it's time again for more Danganronpa Zero. I will. Current bitrate is 7,070 in the recommended. You didn't give me this yesterday. Doesn't really matter. I'll fix the bitrate later. I'm just reading your goddamn warning. Okay, so like I said, more Danganronpa Zero happening here. Yeah, I think we probably go a little bit lower. Yeah, here we go. That's probably a lot better. Sorry, I have to redo this every time I start. Is 7,759 kilobits higher than the recommended bitrate? What do you mean that? Actually, I'm just curious. Look at. We recommend that you use a stream bitrate of 4,500. 4,500? You didn't tell me this yesterday. Ah, what does it matter anyway? So once again, like I said, welcome to Danganronpa Zero. I have a feeling it's mostly going to be pork chop here, but that's fine. He likes it, and it's fine if he likes it. So, last time, well, it's been a while since I read the last one, so. But as I read, we'll remember things, I'm sure. So, let us begin reading once again. Clairvoyance? There's probably thinking something like that. But of course, I know that sort of thing doesn't exist. No. It was real, but only in dreams, no matter how much you wanted it to be real life. Things like being able to awaken psychic powers in a critical situation is something that would come straight out of a shonen manga. So it's not anything as unbelievable as clairvoyance. It was just a simple prediction. I'm able to analyze his thoughts, actions, and movements. After all, I was able to confirm my own ability with the help of my notebook. Super Analyzer. She's a Super Analyzer. Using that ability, I was able to statistically analyze Madara's behavioral patterns and a way of thinking. From there, I predicted the actions he took afterwards. But even after saying that, analysis requires vast amounts of data. If I had no data, I would not be able to predict his actions. But it's all thanks to Otonashi Ryoko's memory notebook. Due to Madarai's actions and behavior, I was able to use the data I had written down in the notebook and predict his actions. In particular, the fight between Enoshima-san and Madarai had become a goldmine of valuable information. She had used various attacks against Madarai, and in response, Madarai had reacted in a variety of ways. Considering all that into detail now, I had seen all his actions and attack patterns. As for the reason of why Enoshima-san would go to such lengths, to be truthful, I had no idea. Anyhow, it was thanks to that data that I am now able to grasp Madarai's behavioral patterns. Having said that, only a few minutes of watching him fight did not mean I could predict everything he would do. However, for now my only goal was to predict how he would act in this situation. I had enough data to do that at least. I was currently easily able to predict when he would attempt to reach me, from what angle and how he would do it. But even after all my predictions, he was still not willing to give up. I'm sure after seeing my ability in full throttle just now, he was stunned to say the least. This is just another prediction, but soon he'll realize that the cause of such a phenomenon was simply my notebook. But he'll probably keep chasing me all the same. If so, he'll be running more seriously. If he does, what are my options? Along with the answer, it should come into view soon. While I continued my predictions, I looked at the sketch in my notebook of the central plaza to guide me as I ran. After going through a thick area of trees, I entered a wild clearing. As I suspected, in the distance I could see a small building. That was the place where I was headed, and as I found my destination, fear and courage swirled in my mind. But I have to do it. Forget about the fear and anxiety and just do it. Do it for the sake of meeting Matsuda-kun. I'll do it. I'll do it without a doubt. By the way, that wasn't a prediction. That was just my happy-go-lucky side shining through. Yeah, that was Chapter 8 right there. That was a pretty short one. Chapter 9 is coming up now, and 8 minutes left. Looks like it's not that long there. There must be a secret in that notebook. That's the conclusion Madarai had come to. Yes, that must be it. There's no such thing as clairvoyance. If caught, everything would fall under pressured circumstances, however they persistently write in their notebook. Meaning they must have some sort of secret, though he did not know what kind of secret. In that case, I must destroy that notebook no matter what. Originally, Madarai was not the type of person to have complex thinking patterns and thought structures. Despite how he may look, he's been told he has a cautious personality, though he wasn't always this way. It had just been something he had to become in order to continue with his responsibilities. However, even after becoming what he is, his responsibilities have lost their meaning. But that's my fault. It's my fault I didn't protect them. Now his only responsibility was to find the culprit behind the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history and exact revenge. That's why. I can't just stand around doing nothing. Madarai began running again. Everything after this point should be simple enough. I'll catch the target. Beat her and force the truth from her. In defiance of Madurai, his target ran away from him as fast as they could. He fell behind somewhat, but not too far. Even if they ran, he just needed to chase after them. As long as he didn't give up, there would be no end. Catch, beat, truth. Madurai repeated it to himself, confirming what he would do. He slithered through the dim, overgrown bushes and the trees as if he were a black snake. He looked around carefully and spotted a clearance. It looked like an area of open space. Looking around, he could see a small prefabricated hut on the other side of the area. Near the straw next to the hut was a flickering light. The entire atmosphere given off by the hut made him feel as if he were in a horror movie. It's too suspicious to be suspicious. No, that makes perfect sense. For someone who's lost to take refuge in, Madurai slowed down, carefully walked to the prefabricated hut. It had a cream-colored roof and walls, but that would under other circumstances be a calming feeling, but when being lit by a flickering light, they only gave off a sick feeling. Madurai stood in front of the small prefabricated hut and carefully looked through the window to examine the state inside. As the light continued to flicker on and off, dust from inside the hut got into his eyes. This was probably a shed for the central plaza. There were things like paint cans and fertilizers placed on the shelves inside, as well as cleaning tools spread out around the room. He couldn't see anyone inside, but the hut was filled with hiding spots. Madurai backed away from the window and turned to the entrance. The door was thin, small, wooden hinge door. He placed his fingertips lightly on the doorknob, and after asserting that there was no trick mechanism, he held the knob more firmly. However, he would not open. It needed a key. Madurai knelt down when he was standing and examined the surrounding weeds. Most of them reached up to his ankles, but there were occasionally a few which were bent at the tip, most likely evidence someone stepped on them recently. It's decided then. However, he still looked conflicted and with little peace of mind. In contrary to the cautiousness he had forgotten a moment ago, he remembered once more. So, what kind of trap are you waiting for me to walk into? Madurai took in another deep breath and exhaled. He turned towards the door and kicked it with all his strength. Bang! With a dull sound, the door opened slightly. Bang! Bang! He kicked the door several times in quick succession, and the door opened wide enough to allow a human to pass through. It looked like a dark hole. Madurai bent down and entered. Excuse me. He stepped on some sand, and the sound of silence rippled around the room. The structure was larger than he thought it was. The light flickering from outside of the window was the only source of illumination in the room. In the corner there was a spider web, stretched finely. Across the room from the window was a shelf placed against the wall. On it were rows of paint cans. Small clumps of dust and gravel were spread across the floor, and there were cleaning and maintenance equipment placed randomly throughout the room. Toward the back of the area were several large bags filled to the brim with fertilizer. You know, you can make a bomb with fertilizer, but maybe I shouldn't say that. Hey, I know you're hiding somewhere in here. Madurai's voice echoed through the warehouse as he redirected his line of sight. Behind a pile of burlap sacks, he thought he saw something small move, like it was a reaction to its voice. Perhaps something scared, and she's there. With his guard up, Madurai inched towards the sacks. There must be a trap there. When he really got down to it, the warehouse is going to be filled to the brim with weapons. In Madurai's mind, he thought he could see a figure trembling behind the sacks in the darkness. "What are you plotting?" he asked in a hushed voice, and continued to proceed through the room. By the time he had reached the center of the room, his eyes had completely readjusted to the darkness. "Well, if it's a fight you want, I'm happy to accommodate," Madurai said with a heartless voice and an unaffected expression. "But if you do, you'll regret it. You'll only feel pain." In that moment, he couldn't understand what happened at all. He felt something hit his face, and his vision went blank. While groaning, he opened his eyes slightly to try and see what happened. He was surrounded by a white fog. Hya! In front of him stood someone on the other side of the burlap sacks, throwing clumps of white dust at him. The clumps hit him hard and disintegrated into hundreds of small particles falling around him. As the girl finished her throw, she shoved her hand back into the bag in front of her and grabbed another mound of white powder to throw at him. Hya! Hya! He stood there, surprised with his mouth hanging open. It was hardly what one would call a fight. It was nothing but a childish game, like snowball fight, but using this white powder as a substitute for snow. What the fuck? Madurai's face changed to an angered expression. To waste his time on something so idiotic. His line of thinking went along that as he straightened to his full height. "I've had enough. It's time to end this foolishness." The flickering from the outside light reflected brightly through the room. He was interrupted before he could continue any further. "Do you know what a dust explosion is?" As Madurai began to move once more, she raised her voice. Madurai stopped walking and stood still unintentionally. If there were a fire in this situation, what would you think would happen? What would... At the moment, there was a white powder floating throughout the entire warehouse. Madurai suddenly realized if there was a fire, in an instant it would travel from one particle to another and soon spread through the entire warehouse. If you did that, wouldn't you be caught in it too? I'm pretty much screwed either way, aren't I? As he heard that, Madurai remembered his own words. Desperate people are always unpredictable at the best of times. Madurai squinted, trying to see clearer through the white mist. Past the dust, he could see a silhouette of a woman, though he could not see her face. As the dust settled, he was finally able to see her expression more clearly. She was staring without a hint of emotion. Unable to peek past her facade, he couldn't help but feel intimidated. Who are you? That wasn't the scared face of his target trying to escape. She stared at Madurai without as much as blinking. Chills went down his spine. You have no reason to do this. In the first place, you can't start a fire here. The girl was silent. Sweat clung to his skin as the tension in the atmosphere grew heavier. His mood grew darker as he felt the atmosphere attack him. Who the hell is this girl? The girl in front of Madurai stared without any expression at his own scared face. Should I run? Strike first? The two choices spun around his head, around and around, over and over. At that point, he noticed his target's eye's direction. He looked over to where she was looking out of instinct. On the floor, he saw a vacuum cleaner used for industrial purposes, and immediately next to it was a power outlet. That power outlet, it could create a spark. As if his brain was playing the word association game, thoughts streamed through his head. Madurai was soon aware he was moving. There was no room for hesitation, not even any warning. Be faster than that woman. With that, Madurai bolted towards the vacuum cleaner and grabbed the hose with his thin hands firmly. With all of his strength, he yanked it towards himself and he had a bad feeling. Something definitely happened. Something very big happened. However, the girl didn't so much as flinch. She was standing in the corner of his field of vision. Even after Madurai had grabbed the vacuum cleaner with his hands, she didn't take one step. Rather, it seemed more like he did exactly as she expected. Shit! His bad feeling turned into a beeline towards bad shape, a trap. But he saw it too late. A large shadow swayed into Madurai's view. The shadow was the shelf tilting towards him. The paint cans made a rattling sound and slid off the shelf in his direction. Coming closer. Just a little closer. A rumbling sound erupted as dust flew everywhere. Madurai was crushed under the large, fallen shelf. End of chapter 9. 10 will take 8 minutes too. So, maybe I can complete this one. We'll see how we might get a long chapter. There was a deep rumbling sound and a cloud of dust flew up into the air. The paint cans fell on the ground and colorfully dyed the walls and floor as if they belonged in a magical world. I breathed in the dust even while coughing. As my coughing eased, my chest relaxed. After hearing a dust explosion and seeing the vacuum cleaner, there was no reason for that cautious strong man to just leave it there. It was the exact result I had predicted. I opened the window to the warehouse, picked up a shovel that had fallen nearby, and went to ask the crushed Madurai a few questions. As I faced him, I tried to remain strong, but my legs were trembling and my hands were covered in sweat. Hello there. Timidly, I looked through the gap under the shelf into its depths. Madurai was trapped between the fallen shelf and the ground like the filling in a sandwich. Though it looked like he was still conscious, he looked at me with weak eyes. I really played into your hands. It might be just because his chest was being crushed, but his voice sounded strained. But why wasn't there an explosion? When the shelf fell, there should have been enough static to create a spark. I tightened my grip on the shovel and responded. Ah, that powder was cement powder. It's not flammable. Cement powder? I readjusted my grip on the shovel so I could open my notebook with my now free hand. Now let's see. The requirements for a dust explosion are combustible dust, oxygen, and a source of ignition. Cement powder isn't oxidized, so it doesn't burn. In other words, you can't have a dust explosion without the dust, or something like that. So then, you knew that. It says here the old man who owns this warehouse is awfully talkative. It seems like he enjoys holding very one-sided conversations with whoever he sees. And he forces high school girls to listen to his stories? It seems like thanks to him I was saved, but I wonder if I should really be grateful. As I flipped through my notebook, I continued to speak. As it turns out, this old man has an interest in do-it-yourself and enjoys making things himself. So it looks like all the cement powder he buys is stored here. So you mentioned it as a decoy. Yes, so I could get you to tug the vacuum cleaner. As I continued looking at my notebook, I nodded vigorously. Ah, by the way, have you seen a movie called Home Alone? You know what's funny? I was thinking of Home Alone, like when Marv slipped on the thing in the house that Kevin was staying in, and he slid all the way to the shelf with the paint cans, but then he went and got electrocuted and turned into a skeleton. which was kind of freaky, I guess, but that's John Hughes for you. And they were talking about Home Alone earlier. I just remembered that. The trap I used came from that. It's a gimmick where there's a rope placed in just the right spot. When you pull the vacuum cleaner, the shells fall down. Oh yes, and I sprinkled some of the cement powder on the rope to hide it. Since the rope I used was already kind of what? That's enough, Madurai interrupted me with his weak voice. In the end, your real trump was that trick? Maybe not quite a trump. I mean, at the end of Home Alone, it's actually a passing adult who gets the finishing blow on the robbers and not Culkin-kun. Okay, that was a weird way to call it, but okay then. It's the same in the sequel as well. So in reality, my real trump was for someone to come save me. I get it. So shut it already. Madurai looked like he was sick of me talking. But isn't it still too early to celebrate your victory? Yes? Surprised, I made a strange reply and the mood changed. What do you mean? I still haven't shown you my trump card, is what I mean. As he said those words, Madurai fell into silence. I tried questioning him some more, but he didn't respond. It seems like he's lost consciousness. Left with a somewhat indecisive feeling, I read it in my notebook that breathing large amounts of cement powder can leave you with pneumoconiosis. Ooh. Chris Surgeon, hey, welcome. Are you actually going to stick around for this? I'd be surprised. I don't know if you're into Danganronpa or not. Especially not someone reading a novel, a light novel on stream. But hey, if you want to stick around, feel free to do so. Where did I leave off? Oh yeah. As soon as I left the warehouse, the weight lifted off my shoulders and I was left in a refreshing mood. Well, I can leave it to the security department to deal with him. But once they catch that criminal, everything will settle down again. Surely attacking a young girl like me is a crime worthy of expulsion at least, after meeting him. Ugh. I heard a sobbing sound, quiet enough to be a small animal. I realized quickly it was me. My throat squeezed shut. Something rugged had closed around my throat and I couldn't breathe. What's happening? What's going on? In my confused state, I somehow became aware that there was a jet black telephone pole in front of me. But why is there a telephone pole? To only add to my confusion, when I looked up at the top of the telephone pole, there was a pure white face. I suppose it's a human face. It looks like a familiar face. Maybe forgetful, but that is a very familiar face, because that face is the face of the man who crushed under the shelf just a short time ago. It was Madurai. You looked shocked. But he wasn't injured at all. His clothes didn't have a speck of dirt or anything on them. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, why is the man I defeated in the warehouse just a short while ago standing in front of me, strangling me? Aren't you? Strangling her? Oh, I know the music doesn't match either, but this is the best. This is the only one I have. It's called Relaxing and Calm Music from Danganronpa. So, even though she's being strangled right now, that is not a calm situation. Unless you're dead, then it's kind of calm, maybe. I don't know. Madurai's mouth split into a huge smile. Remember that trump card I mentioned? This is part of it. He narrowed his eyes and squinted at me. I could see myself reflected in them. For the time being, I'll just break your arms and legs. It'll be painful, but bear with it. Before that, I should knock you unconscious. It'd be a bother if you started screaming, he said ruthlessly then calmly. He left no room for me to plead for my life as I vaguely registered what he was saying. Madurai tightened his hold on my throat further and my consciousness slipped more and more. I could feel myself vanish and I could no longer feel my body. I can't talk anymore. I can't breathe anymore. I can't predict anymore. My notebook slipped out of my hand. My eyes lost focus and my vision blurred. Madurai distorted into the landscape. He distorted. As his body was distorting, it swirled into a spiral. The sky became the ground and the ground became the sky. Only his head stayed the same. Then that crumpled and I fell to the ground with a dull thud. I watched everything in front of me. I was dangerously flickering in and out of consciousness like a candle, unable to determine if what I saw was real or just a dream. But I was seeing something. I don't even know what to make of that sound, but whatever. Making it sound like a frog, Madurai tumbled down from his position quickly. As soon as he fell down, he leapt back up, his own eyes transfixed on his right arm. Just above his elbow, his arm was twisted strangely, like taffy. I don't really know what happened, but Madurai stared at his own arm with a blank face. Quickly realization set in and he screamed. Wow, that's a weird scream. I don't even know. That's what I'll do. You should see the way they wrote the scream. It's weird. A wretched scream filled with confusion, fear and pain ripped from his mouth, expelled all the air in his body. When I heard his scream, I was in a stupor, standing in the middle of the battlefield. Speaking of which, I'm not really sure if I'm standing or lying right now. Not really sure of anything. I'm not really sure if I heard a voice just now. Boo! I wonder if I was a bit too hard, the voice said. It sounded close, but it can't be helped. I'd just be embarrassed if you died here. After all, you're the protagonist in this scene for once. That's when I noticed something. It's strange, I hadn't noticed it up until now. The dark shadow was standing in front of me. On the black silhouette, I noticed another familiar face, but I can't remember. I can't remember who that is. Oh, we know who it is, though. You can't remember who I am, can you? I am absolutely correct, you know? Well, you don't have to worry. If you look deep inside of yourself, you'll remember soon enough. It laughed, and the voice from the shadows suddenly lowered. Anyway, before anything else, I guess I need to clean up that mess. After saying that, everything began in an instant. Everything ended in an instant. First, she placed her hand over Madurai's head. He was still screaming like he was broken. With her hand, he started to stroke him gently. There's a lot of spelling and grammatical errors in this part, I must say. Madurai looked up surprised. His expression remained as his head made a crunching sound, turning and stopping at a strange angle. I don't know what she did, but Madurai fell down and lost all of his energy. Red froth was flowing out of him at my feet, and he convulsed. Ah, this is a dream. It was a struggle to keep thinking straight, but for some reason the mood was much more relaxing. That's right, I've decided. This scene playing out is too strange to be real. I've decided I must be in a dream. So the reason that laughter is echoing in my eardrums, it's just because this is a dream. I noticed the black shadow was standing in front of me again. This isn't any different to a dream either. So I'll remind you of who I am. That's right, you can call me Super High School Level Despair, I think. As she said that, her familiar face appeared on her shadow. Her eyes were dark color. Her eyes were a much too deep dark color. They looked more like holes leading into darkness. As I stared into those holes, I felt my consciousness be sucked away. Inside those holes was a pure black bottomless pit filled with mud. I was sucked deeper into it, and the mud eroded my body. As it happened, I could hear a voice say in the distance, "Let's meet up again. Then I'll kill you properly." It sounded like it was a voice in the distance, but it was a distinct voice whispering in my ear. What a strange dream. With that last thought, my consciousness melted into the pit completely, and I disappeared. Oh. Now we're on to 11. 3 minutes only. Wow. They're getting short. The woman tilted her head to one side. Enoshima Junko tilted her head more to one side. It's nice that I came back and all, but I wonder, just what kind of situation is this? She got up from her kneeling position and looked in front of her. There was something there. It was a dead body. Ooh, she killed Madurai, which I thought. It sounded like she cracked his neck or something. The man's neck and arm were bent at a strange angle. This guy is definitely... She placed her hand on her chin and closed her... I don't even know what they were trying to write there. She placed her hand on her chin and closed her eyes. She posed as if she were a detective solving a great mystery. After just a little hesitation, Enoshima Junko raised her voice as if she was celebrating. Ah, I remembered. Right. He said his name was Madurai. Looks like even in death I forgot you. Wonder if I'll end up forgetful too. As if... Ha 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 ha. Enoshima Junko's laughing voice filled the night sky and echoed around the place, as though she was surrounded by several other girls. Her voice bounced around and sounded like a chorus of girls laughing. But the next moment her laughter ceased. The girls seemed to have grown tired of laughing and put on a bored expression. Anyway, where did the other corpse disappear to? She asked and began laughing again. She looked bored and cranky only a moment ago, but now she was laughing at a huge smile on her face. Well, it doesn't really matter where it disappeared to. Really, I am too good at planning despair-inducing plans. And saying that, she returned to a solemn expression. But I'm so good at planning them. They never go the way I want. Whose fault is this? Who will take responsibility for this? After each word, she changed her expression. None of them were just her putting on a facade. Each expression carried her true feelings. She felt a despair-inducing weariness. That's the girl after all. She's that girl after all. She's super high school level despair Enoshima Junko after all. Enoshima changed back to her gloomy expression. She shuffled over to Madurai's dead body. Oi, it's all your fault. Hey. Saying that, she began to prod the body with the tip of her foot. Hey, what do you have to say for that? After you were killed by me so easily, try harder to get in the way of my plan next time. I can't despair like this. Her tone suddenly changed. It hurts. I'm so sorry, she said in a tone of voice similar to what ventriloquists use. She was mimicking Madurai's voice. Enoshima-sama, forgive me, she said in a sarcastic voice as she pressed her foot into Madurai. A dark red liquid dribbled from his mouth. I've died apologizing, so please forgive me. That sounds like Mikan almost. She once again returned to her own tone of voice. A dead apology means nothing, since you're already dead. While still majestically prodding him, she squished down his face. Splatter. Dull noise that sounded like crunching echoed around. This is a long one, but I'm not going to do the entire one. As if she were a one-man show, she erupted into obnoxious loud laughter, but she soon grew tired of that and returned quickly to her prime expression. Well then, looks like I'll have to talk to my big sister about this, though she'll tell me off for asking her to help me clean up this mess. First there's that filthy corpse. I also need to clear up that warehouse. And finally, get rid of that nuisance of a guy Otonashi Ryoko-chan loves so much. She finished in a confident tone. As she remembered again, she began laughing. She opened her arms towards the heavens dramatically and obnoxiously laughed. Her cruel, gruesome laughter sounded throughout the night. There wasn't any reason for it. It wasn't emotional or necessary either. She's super high school level despair Enoshima Junko after all. Not appropriate music at all, but we'll go with it. Ooh, this one's 23 minutes now. This will be a bit longer, this chapter. I let out a sigh and my body seemed to deflate from the sudden lack of air. As my chest tightened, I was reminded of something. Before leaving, he could have gotten rid of the rope at least, I said, feeling tired as I struggled under the rope slightly. But the burning and pain I felt wasn't caused by the rope. The reason why was obvious. I closed my eyes and tried to fall asleep so I could escape this suffering. I wanted to forget everything. With that thought drifting through my mind, I slowly melted into dreams. Slowly melting. As if I had been freed of my heavy body, I felt as though I was floating. Huh? My consciousness rapidly reappeared. By the time I opened my eyes, I noticed the rope around me had been untied. Matsuda-kun! I sat up. I looked around the laboratory, but Matsuda-kun was nowhere to be found. So then, how did the rope untie itself? I wasn't sure if the rope had untied itself over time, or perhaps I had a hidden talent for escaping bondages, like a magician. I pondered over it. I looked around the institute relentlessly. I saw an electric kettle at the back on the desk. Perhaps I should calm myself down by drinking some tea. While I hosted the thought, I poured some hot water into the teapot. I could smell the gentle scent of green tea. I poured a proper portion into a cup and took a slow sip. A hot, dark liquid flowed down from the back of my throat to my stomach. I finally calmed down. Looks like you finally calmed down. Eh? Before I knew it, a strange boy was standing right in front of me. Ah! Surprised, I dropped my teacup suddenly, and it hit my foot. Ow! I writhed in agony. Haha, you're pretty clumsy, big sis. Who are you? As I was still in pain, the boy laughed innocently at my face. At my question. Forgotten already? Even after I introduced myself last night? Introduced himself last night? I dragged my numb, throbbing foot behind me as I limped pitifully to the bed and opened up Otonashi Ryoko's memory notebook, which I had placed there. Ah, I got it. I remembered. Last evening, you were the one I asked to leave a message to Matsuda-kun in the dormitory. Ding ding, ding dong, correct. I'm Kamishiro Yuto from Hope's Peak Academy's 77th batch. But when did you get in here? I hadn't noticed him enter at all. Well, of course you didn't notice me enter at all. Kamishiro-kun chuckled out as he sat on top of the desk. But you know, when did you get here? It's the completely wrong question to ask. Eh? What do you mean? So I replied. Kamishiro-kun grinned more. I mean, I've been here all along. All along? To be exact, ever since Matsuda-kun tied you down with the rope, big sis. Wait, what? I listened to that lover's quarrel you were having later and everything. Anyway, that rope was tied pretty well. I'll have to ask him to teach me sometime. So then... I began trying to fully understand everything in my head. You've been hiding in this lab. You were hiding to spy on Matsuda-kun and I. How rude. I'm not a pervert. I don't do perverted things like hiding to perv on people. I'm not a pervert. He puffed out his cheeks. I don't know if he was really angry though. But if you weren't hiding, wouldn't we have noticed? I mean, it wasn't just being here. Matsuda-kun was here too. Seriously, you still don't get it? Fine, I'll say it more clearly. Kamishiro-kun gestured to his chest and announced in a loud voice, You didn't notice me because of my talent, big sis. My talent is super high school level secret agent. Ooh, secret agent man. If he puffed out his chest anymore, he would have ended up falling backwards. Super high school level secret agent? Yeah, like 007 or Mission Impossible. Everyone's seen those movies at least once, haven't they? I'll watch them with you if you want. The point is, they're about spies. Spies? Even though I couldn't remember seeing any of those movies, he didn't really give the impression of a spy. People have been telling me for a long time that I have no real sense of presence, like a table or a chair in a room. As he said that, Kamishiro-kun grabbed a melon bread from out of a pocket, though it was a mystery how on earth his pocket had enough space for that. I nibbled at it before continuing. When I was a kid, I used to hate my lack of presence, but then I noticed something. Why not make my downfall my own talent? I mean, if I have no presence, then doesn't that mean I won't be noticed by anyone? It'd be amazing. It'd be an amazing spy. I'd be an amazing spy or ninja. There weren't any drawbacks. I was gifted this talent from the very heavens. I could use this ability of mine to save the world and become a super spy. As he finished, he stuffed the rest of the melon bread into his mouth. In short, you weren't really hiding from us. Simply put, we just didn't really notice you, right? He chewed and gulped it all down. That's it. He smiled widely. The reason I came here was to fulfill the promise I made to you. But when I got to here, you were already here with Yasuke, so I thought to myself that maybe I wouldn't be required to deliver the message anymore. But I realized it'd be a waste to just leave after all the effort I put into getting here, so I decided to stay and watch. You used your ability so you could watch? I frowned. Why? Of course, in case some trouble came your way. Kamishiro turned to me and gave me a look not blending with his young appearance. He glared at me with burning passion. Now you see my talent, you understand, right? I can collect information to solve any case, no matter what the trouble might be. I'm the type of guy who likes to really aim for big things, like an immortal terrorist who has stolen some nuclear warheads and planted them somewhere. That kind of trouble. Aha! It's exciting just to imagine the sort of thing. As he said that, Kamishiro-kun's body began to shiver with excitement. Madness oozed out of his innocent appearance. You are weird, aren't you? Of course, if I weren't, I wouldn't have come to this school. He seems to be honest at least. This is Hope's Peaks Academy, and I should be the same. So, what do you do? Don't you think the more the merrier? After all, I'm a specialist for specialists. I'm a pro at gathering information. As he said that, Kamishiro-kun took another sweet bread from his blazer pocket. I guess they must really work as good storage space, and suddenly stopped moving. What the heck? Peanut butter bread? Yuck! Kamishiro-kun dropped his shoulders disappointedly. Peanut butter bread doesn't taste nice? It looks delicious. What are you saying, big sis? Peanut butter bread is the spawn of hell itself. I like eating miso and rice together. Rather than understand him any better, it became a painful process to coherently process what he meant. Yes, I see. I couldn't be bothered arguing about this, so I just agreed. Aha! I'm glad we understand each other. Let me give you this. He passed me the sticky peanut butter bread and thrust his hand into his pocket, getting out another sweet bread. Wow! A Madeira cake made with Yamazaki whiskey. This time he hit the jackpot. He had a huge smile on his face as he was munching it. Eh? What did you say? Kamishiro-kun quickly swallowed down his meal. Don't eat with your mouth full, kid. So, what'll you do? He asked me flatly with scarily serious eyes. I mean, unless you think there's no way I'd help you. See, I'm not the type who would just ignore a damsel in distress, now am I? When you're drowning, you don't just want someone to... want some people to gather around singing about peace, life and harmony. If you're in some kind of trouble, then just leave it up to me, big sis. Because I'm a person who lives for the sake of solving cases. I mean, our situation is similar to how a penis fits in a vagina. Well, okay. People in trouble meet people who solve trouble. If we assume that, then we won't even have to wait for a solution, right? Seeing as how I've already ejaculated the reason. Thanks for the description, kid. Wait a second. I hurriedly cut him off. Did you just go out of character? Not really. Kamishiro-kun said and laughed. Perhaps it was your imagination. His odd phrases bugged me a little, but I suppose it really was my imagination. I wasn't listening properly. Yes, that must have been it. So what'll you do? You can't just solve your problem by floundering around confused now, can you? Go ahead and take the plunge. You can rely on me, can't you? Trouble. In order to help understand my situation, I reviewed my notebook. I had completely forgotten just what kind of trouble I was in it by this point. As I read the notebook back to myself, my painful throbbing intensified, and I quickly closed the notebook. What will I do? 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 It was more rational than just irrational. What I had found myself caught in was more abnormal than just an abnormal situation. No matter how much I looked through Otonashi Ryoko's memory notebook, there was no way I'd find something to rival this abnormal situation. It was a clear lack of data, an apparent lack of experience. What will I do? 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 I thought as I hastily raised my head and met the eyes of the boy eating his sweetbread. Looks like you decided, eh? Looks like you decided. Eh? So then, why not tell me what happened that led you up to your current situation? He read my gaze and his mood completely changed. There was no way to be sure. If I could not do it myself, perhaps I should rely on others. It was a simple theory that worked well enough. Others. People who weren't Matsuda-kun. It had finally come to a time where I needed to rely on others. Hey, what's wrong? Hurry up and tell me. Tell me, tell me. Right, I will. As if he were a puppy wanting to be fed, I rushed over to him and opened my notebook. Before I explained my trouble, I explained my forgetfulness. Whoa, can't say I'm jealous, but that definitely is interesting. As Kamishiro-kun listened, his looked more... God damn it, bad. He looked more as though he had found a rare foreign treasure. I continued to explain that my old memories had been stolen, that I had found a dead body in the central plaza, and how I met Enoshima Junko. As I continued to recount all the events written in my notebook, my voice began to shake and Kamishiro-kun meekly squinted as he listened. As I finished my story, he finally opened his mouth. I couldn't have just heard Enoshima Junko's name, could I have? Huh? I feel like someone else had that reaction recently too. Are you surprised? I reacted more to Enoshima Junko's name than to the dead body. Matsuda-man reacted the same way just a short time ago. Haha, I guess it's true that you're unusually forgetful, big sis. Amazing, amazing. It's troubling you're impressed by that. What I said was true. I can only hope he takes it to heart. Well, I've grasped the rough situation now. Since I'm a super spy, a dead body isn't really all that surprising. That being said, it's still a strange situation, especially when that Enoshima Junko person is involved. A very weird situation indeed. You were right, big sis. Good thing you came to me for help. Could it be? You know Enoshima Junko that Enoshima Junko person, Kamishiro-kun? I clearly expressed my tone. Yeah, well, I don't know her directly, but I feel like perhaps this was fate. Moreover, I really hit bingo. Yes? But you know, so far everything has played out so perfectly, like a Hollywood movie. However, I believe I'll take over as the protagonist in the story. From this point on, in order to solve your problem, it's turned into a thrilling spy story. By thrilling, don't you mean old? Haha, don't strain your brain. Having said that, Kamishiro-kun thrust his hand into his pocket again and got out another sweet bread. Alright, a chocolate swirl bread, he cried out before continuing with his description. I've also started to look into a somewhat unrelated case. I know Enoshima Junko's name because she popped up in the unrelated case's investigation. However, she wasn't a key person, so I figured she didn't matter. But if she's also related to your problem, then that makes it a different story. Since it's too much of a coincidence to be involved in both these cases I'm investigating. Kamishiro-kun's eyes glistened. They ignited as he spoke more about this troublesome issue. By the way, are you curious by this unrelated case? You are, aren't you? Yeah, I am. As Kamishiro-kun pressed more, I simply gave in and replied supportively. Whatever shall I do? I'm not really supposed to talk about this to unrelated people. He spoke with an all-important attitude. Well, whatever. But after all that, he just decided to go ahead with it anyway. What a troublesome guy. Well, you see, firstly, it may be a little too subtle to call it an unrelated case. Eh? What do you mean? There may be a connection between them, is what I mean. A connection? Does that mean these two incidents are actually one? To be truthful, I think it might be better if I explain this unrelated case to someone else. Since it's pretty dangerous, it's possible something might happen. After initially finishing his over-the-top introduction, he began to pace around the room. He acted like a detective explaining a great mystery. I mentioned another case. It's more widely known as the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history. As soon as he said that, my heart began pounding as if it were exploding repeatedly. Huh? What's this? The world's largest incident in Hope's Peaks... The largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history? The name itself was ridiculously absurd, and yet I reacted somehow to his words. I felt an enormous weight on my shoulders as I flicked through my notebook. My thought process had come to a complete halt. What's the matter, big sis? I came to a realization Kamishiro-kun was looking at my face. You somehow look a little pained. Do you need some kahua? I know that I've seen that word before, but I don't remember how to say it. A whiskey? No, I'm fine. It's nothing. I took in some deep breaths and calmed my nerves. So, are you curious about the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history? Well, are you? Are you curious about it? Yeah, I am. After more prompting from Kamishiro-kun, I reluctantly answered yet again. Yes, well you see, Kamishiro-kun began as he closed his eyes and held his hands up in an impressive pose. I'm not really sure if I had the details myself. You don't know? I had a nasty habit of interpreting the story, as I was about to complain before he continued. I mean, it's just a rumor so far. A rumor? So far I've only heard rumors about it. If it really did happen, it's still under investigation. Right now it's kind of more like one of the 7 wonders of the world. The name, the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history was something someone just gave it. Ooh, had to burp there a little bit. I see. For a moment I thought it was something serious. I sighed a breath of relief and lowered my shoulders. Wait, is it still too early to relax over it? Kamishiro-kun said as he narrowed his gaze at me. Just because it's a rumor doesn't mean there isn't some truth behind it. It's true, and that's even more outrageous. Makes this rumor even more risky. That's why I think it's better not to just loosen up over it. Throbbing in my chest began to pound again. The rumor is pretty big and nobody knows who started it. Perhaps they themselves were trying to stop the rumor from being spread. In short, it's a very dangerous rumor. That's why it might be better if I told you too. As he said that, I suddenly preferred not hearing about it. That was my honest opinion, but even so I couldn't stop him. But if you say you still want to know, there's nothing I can do. I must tell you. You already assumed my assurance. So then, the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history is, as he said that, Kamishiro-kun coughed in a very theatrical manner. 15 Hope's Peaks Academy students going missing suddenly, and then the discovery of 13 dead. That is the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history. I was taken aback. It was too strange, too bizarre. It didn't contain a hint of realism. It's just a rumor, isn't it? Asked Kamishiro-kun, trying to confirm. Shook his head slightly. If it were just a rumor, then why would I bother investigating it? But actually, apparently it's true. Some students at Hope's Peaks Academy have gone missing. Kamishiro-kun replied in a hushed voice, as if he were in a secret meeting. The rumor started about a month ago. At the same time, 14 of our students here were invited to study overseas. Suspicious, right? So by chance, the same amount of people went missing. Ah, but the rumor said 15 people, didn't it? So then the amount of people don't match up. It's different after all. It's fine, don't worry about the details, he said while waving his hand. Right now, it's only a rumor. It can be dismissed as a rumor, but if it were real, then it's very scary. Was that its purpose? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's go back to the issue at hand. Eh? Issue? Oh boy, you forgot again. You shouldn't worry. These incidences with Inoshima Junko seem to be related, don't they? I read through my notebook quickly. Ah, that's right. I remember now. To begin with, several students at Hope's Peak Academy have been found dead, but that has nothing to do with me. I've been stalked by a crazy woman called Inoshima Junko. That's my problem. Hey, are you worried? Are you worried about Inoshima Junko's relation to the largest incident in Hope Peaks Academy's history? Perhaps that there is some sort of hidden motive behind Inoshima Junko stalking you. Big sis, does that make you worried? Yeah, so tell me. As Kamishiro-kun approached me as I steadily walked towards him. We see, Kamishiro-kun had a huge cheesy grin on his face. I don't know. Huh? I was attacked by a sudden wave of dizziness and I could feel myself losing balance. You don't know? What the heck? As if he didn't notice my obvious trembling and shaking, Kamishiro-kun began pacing around the room again. But a month before the rumor spread, that girl was apparently interrogated by Hope's Peaks Academy's executive office. Suspicious, isn't it? Very suspicious. I straightened up my posture and raised my voice as I leaned forward. Since she was interrogated and everything, doesn't that make her a criminal? It's a bit too early to say that. The rumors aren't confirmed yet. That's probably true. I repeated the hypothesis in my head, convincing myself that it wasn't just a rumor. But you know, if there really was an incident, and if she is the one behind it, then shouldn't she be locked away or something? As he said that, Kamishiro-kun leaned further against the desk. The person who spread the rumor behind the largest incident in Hope's Peaks Academy's history was probably Inoshima Junko as well. Eh? In that case, she might not be the culprit. I mean, a culprit spreading rumors about their own crime, that's really dangerous. But is that really it? Inoshima Junko was the one spreading the rumor. A few weeks ago, a cryptic email was sent to the reserve students, and it seems like that's how the rumor began. So the person who sent that was Inoshima Junko? Kamishiro-kun swallowed down his sweet bread and nodded. I have an underclassman who is good with computers. They're a programmer. Every so often I get to the spot on school servers. They happen to find the email by chance. The sender was unknown, of course. but with a super spy like me on the case, I immediately knew who sent it. Although, just to be on the safe side, I didn't inform my junior of what the email contained or about the sender's identity. I didn't want them to get caught up in this dangerous mission, since I am a very caring and giving human being. I was about to ask why I was being involved in such a thing, but held my tongue before uttering anything. But why do you think Enoshima Junko would be doing such a thing, bothering to spread rumors about the incident in question? I don't know. I replied with a refreshing but firm tone. Well then, why don't we ask her ourselves? I had a flash of inspiration, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. If I could have, I would have done that a long time ago. Kamishiro-kun quickly shook his head. I don't know what to do. Haven't even been able to find this Enoshima Junko. She doesn't come to class at all. She just don't seem to mind, and her classmates don't know the details why. She really is a carefree student. Seeing as how I haven't seen her at all, it's possible she just dropped out of school. No. But I met Enoshima Junko. Inside the school too. It's written in my notebook. It seems like Enoshima Junko wants you to be involved in this. That's why she appeared before you. Stole your notebook and confessed to murdering someone, big sis. I have no idea what she wants. I can't do anything but cheer you up with my laughter. He said as he placed his hands at the back of his head and laughed happily. Wait a moment. This isn't really the time to be laughing, I told him off. It's fine. We've got all the time in the world, Kamishiro-kun yawned. It's still early days yet, so of course we don't know the full story. Once I start investigating, we'll find out a lot of new things. Right now, we're still just guessing and putting our theories. We don't know how much of it is true or not. What I'm saying is just leave it to me from here on out. Our conversation came to an end. We didn't have anything more to discuss, and Kamishiro-kun took another sweet bun out of his pocket. Ah, a legendary three-flavored sweet bread. He happily puffed out his cheeks. Oh, right. I forgot an important detail. Kamishiro-kun licked his sugar-covered fingers and turned to me. We haven't talked about payment yet, have we? Huh? Payment? Don't worry. I don't really want or need any money. I mean, I'm not really asking for anything amazing or anything. Nothing important. Sweet bread, perhaps? Sweet breads fall under the important things category. Kamishiro-kun hummed out as he shook his head vigorously. So then, instead I tilted my head trying to think. Kamishiro-kun laughed at me. Something like, I don't know, maybe a small favor for me. Favor? What? Wait, do you mean like a favor, or? He had his big grin on a refreshing expression. Ah, I see. You didn't mean anything sexual, did you? Sorry, I didn't really understand what you mean. Anyway, you said nothing too amazing, didn't you? No, that's too embarrassing. I scratched my head and Kamishiro-kun replied with a shocked face. It's good to know you have such pride in your body image, big sis. Somehow you just gave the word shocked a new meaning. I rested my head on one hand. As I rested my head, I looked at Kamishiro-kun and asked him once more. So by favor, what do you mean? Well, you may not have noticed it, but I have an unusually high sexual drive. In movies, after a spy solves the case, he embraces a woman, and Big Sis has the kind of face that just drives a man wild, Kamishiro-kun said as he puffed out his chest. That's not something you should puff your chest out about. Would you prefer a tent? Anyway, why don't you puff out your chest, Big Sis? See, I'm doing it. Puff out the voluptuous, sweet, juicy, well-rounded chest of yours. Mwahaha! You see his ulterior motive as clearly as he smiled evilly. Say, do you happen to know where that sweet, innocent boy from just a little earlier went? Mwahaha! Anyway, I'm really looking forward to solving these cases. Just be on the safe side. Just stop taking baths. Get smelly, I'll come save you. Oh, wait. There must be a manual on how to recite to your previous personality. As he continued, I was having more trouble dealing with him. Well then, though I've been noticing my prior embarrassment, Kamishiro-kun clapped his hands. That settles the fees. He scurried over to the door with a quick, I'm off. He ran out of the lab, laughing evilly in the distance. Wait a minute, I didn't agree to... Rattle, bang. My sentence was tragically cut off by the sound of the door closing. I didn't agree to the payment. My words echoed around the room. I sat down limply on the bed. But I promised. Though that sort of one-sided promise could barely be called a promise. It was my fault if it ended up so one-sided, though, I guess. On top of that, for a one-sided favor, it was way too one-sided. If the feminists ever heard about this, I don't think they'd ever stop rallying over it. Speaking of which, that doesn't matter to me at all, right? Yeah, I'll ignore it. If I just ignore it, it'll be fine. I muttered to someone who wasn't there desperately as I lay down on the bed. The rattling noise of the lab door opening again sounded again. For a moment, I thought Kamishiro-kun had come back and looked over to see a fair-skinned man standing in the doorway. My heart thumped. Ah, Matsuda-kun! As if I were a sprinter, I ran towards him in a record-breaking speed and hugged him. Ah, it took too long. I feel like I've been waiting forever. As I hugged Matsuda-kun, his body went strangely stiff. Huh? Is something wrong? I'd like to continue that conversation from earlier. What conversation? I don't understand what he was trying to say. I just don't remember anymore. But whatever's fine. I don't know what was happening earlier, but it's fine as long as Matsuda-kun is here. What sort of conversation was it? I tilted my neck as I rubbed my face against his chest. I laughed out. Ha 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 ha. As I absentmindedly rubbed my face on his chest, I thought he'd be a little angry if I stained his shirt, but his reply was quite the opposite. It was bad. Eh? I looked up at him surprised. What's bad? Matsuda-kun stared at my face and coughed lightly. No, it's fine if you don't remember. Anyway, it was bad, he replied, looking away. I don't really understand what he meant by it, but my heart had stopped thumping and it was tightening instead, now. As it did, I buried my face in his chest. As I hugged him, he seemed to forget about all my worries. I felt like I was about to collapse to a pile of rubble, and he refreshed my feelings. Everything outside of this small room in the universe of ours was absolutely insignificant. I suddenly became worried. I need to apologize. It didn't seem to matter after I had started feeling so much better. Now is the only time that matters. This is the only thing that matters. Now is the only thing that I understand. Now is the only thing I know. Now is the only thing I remember. That's why I just want to bury myself in the happiness of the moment. Anyway, how did you get out of the rope? Matsuda-kun's voice brought me out of my thoughts. What rope? You remember how you got out of the rope? Nope, sorry. You really are a troublesome one. Yep, sorry. As I said that, Matsuda-kun sighed out and chuckled softly as he shook his head. Anyway, you're starting to hurt me. Oh, it's fine just for a little longer, answered him as if I was a spoiled child at Matsuda-kun's side. I felt his body relax, and as if I held the entire world in my hands, I felt a sense of achievement and satisfaction. This is my world, and it's the only world I have. I felt happy as I closed my eyes. Thump, thump, thump. I heard his heart beat in his chest. In my hands I held all I ever wanted. The sound acted as one final blessing. Parade, Matsuda-kun suddenly spoke up. What was that? As I asked as my eyes remained closed. Somehow the parade outside has become louder again. I tried to listen for what he meant, but thump, thump. I only hear the soft beating of his heart. Right now it's only Matsuda-kun and me. Those things outside don't matter. So just... I didn't finish what I was saying. For a while longer, I buried my face in my beloved Matsuda-kun's chest. Oh man, I'm feeling burpy right now. I reluctantly let go of my beloved Matsuda-kun. Went back to my room without my beloved Matsuda-kun. I took off my shoes as I thought of my beloved Matsuda-kun. I lay in my bed as I muttered about my beloved Matsuda-kun. And finally, I melted away into dreams about my beloved Matsuda-kun. Nothing else. Nothing else mattered. Nothing else was important to me. And... I think let me just look at chapter 13. This is 5 minutes, 2 minutes for 14, 15 is 12 minutes, and the last chapter is 11 minutes. So you know what? I'll save the ending for the next part, I think. So yeah, I think that sounds good. Thanks for listening, Pork Chop, as usual for this. And next time we do chapter 13 and the rest of the book pretty much. So, thanks for, like I said, coming along, Pork Chop. And I'll prepare for Doom, I guess. Well, actually, well, chapter 12 to 16, because 11 was pretty long. Wasn't it? 13. 5 minutes. Whatever the hell. I don't know. What chapter did I even just finish? I don't even remember. Try to look. Where was the one that was, whatever it is. Anyways, thanks for listening, Pork Chop. Doom time soon. I'll remember what I did when I re-listened to this. Until then, so long.